Ahoy, Captains! It's Vaz again with another video from World of Warships Legends, and today we have a Versus video for you. In Versus, we compare two similar and readily available ships to determine if one is better than the other. We tally up the points as we go, and at the end we hope to determine a winner. We'll also throw in a little bit of information and some tips on the builds and playstyles of these ships. Today we have two Tier 6 American destroyers, and we're going to do something a little different for this Versus, so be sure to stick around. First up, a little bit of info on these ships. The Benson was the lead ship in her class and was commissioned in July of 1940. In 1954, she was transferred to the Republic of China to serve in the Taiwanese Navy as the Loyang, which you all know was recently added to the game as an optional campaign reward. The Benson can be grinded out in the tech tree and purchased for 9 million credits. The Benham was the lead ship in her class and was commissioned in February of 1939. Although it was a campaign reward in 2020, it can be purchased through the store for 12,500 doubloons or for 500,000 global XP. Now, as for the playstyle of these ships, it's pretty straightforward. The Benson is a gunboat that you'll want to be playing at distance, although it does have useful long-distance torps once they're upgraded. And the Benson is pretty much a torp boat, and you're going to want to play it as far away as you can due to all the radar at tier 6 and 7, although it can hold its own against other destroyers at the tier in a gunfight. Commander-wise, I really like to use Vincent Mordoff on the Benson and Albert Gleaves on the Benham. If you don't have Mordoff, I'd probably go with Burke over Halsey, but that'll be up to you since they're both gunboat commanders. I choose Burke due to his skill being useful for both HE and AP, whereas Halsey's base trait only affects AP. The first row skill choice will likely be your only other choice difference. Most likely you'll choose Observant Rage for Halsey and Quick Fix for Burke, but again, that's all going to be up to you. On Gleaves, I like to use the third row skill Torpedo Safari for increasing your torp range in order to stay clear of all those radar cruisers at tier 6 and 7 as I previously mentioned. I also like Destroy or Be Destroyed in the fourth row to get in and out of torping situations faster. As for the upgrades for these ships, they both have 3 starting upgrade slots, while the Benson has 4 additional unlockable slots. As for the starting upgrade slots, in slot 1 your choices are Aiming Systems Mod 1, AA Guns Mod 2, or Main Battery Mod 2. For all of my destroyers, I like to choose Aiming Systems Mod 1. It'll help you with the dispersion of your main battery, and also your torpedo launcher's traverse speed. In slot 2, your options are Steering Gears Mod 2, Propulsion Mod 2, and Damage Control Systems Mod 2. It's really up to you what you want to choose here. It's usually down to steering gears and propulsion. I like to do propulsion because when it comes to domination mode, I always like to be in the caps. And when you are in a capture point, you usually do end up sitting still. But when an enemy comes upon you, you don't want to be caught flat-footed, so that's why I use the propulsion mod. Next up in slot 3, we have the options of Steering Gears Mod 3, Concealment System Mod 1, and Target Acquisition System Mod 1. I also usually do the Concealment System Mod 1 because I don't like being outspotted by all those sneaky Japanese torp boats. And when it comes to these American destroyers, their rudder shift is already pretty good, so decreasing it an extra 40% seems a little bit overkill to me, but in the end that's going to be all up to you. Now this is the part where we're going to do something a little different here. We're going to fast forward to the end and look at the summary to see what the results are when the stock ships match up against each other. But you know what, that's not what we're going to settle with for this Versus. Everyone knows the Benson will outperform the Benham in a straight up comparison, so I felt it would be kind of pointless to compare them the old fashioned way. Instead, I've made way more work for myself in this comparison. Let's make things really interesting by putting our recommended commanders on these ships and re-compare them. You can already see here that the Benson has 6 points to 1 over the Benham. Benham does have increased credit earnings because it's a premium, but that just gets an asterisk because it doesn't affect gameplay. But overall, if you're comparing these ships stock, the Benson is definitely better than the Benham. Now when it comes to the builds, of course they're very subjective here and even could be gamed a little bit to make one ship a clear winner in certain categories, but we're gonna go with what I think the average build would be and what would enhance each ship's strengths. So for the Benson we're going to go and use Mordoff, and for the Benham we're going to go and use Gleaves. Mornoff is a level 15 triple legendary, while Gleaves is also a level 15, but only a single legendary. If he were a triple using this current build, the torp range would be a little bit longer, the gun range would be a little bit shorter, and the concealment would be a little bit better while decreasing the hit points slightly. In the end, a level or two isn't going to sway anything one way or another. So the first comparison we're going to make is going to be on the loadout screen. The Benson has a patented USN smoke screen which disperses for longer, meaning it can be larger, and it also lasts for 36 seconds longer than a typical smoke screen. For some reason the Benham doesn't come with that American smoke screen, but instead gets the standard one, therefore the Benson gets the first point of the matchup. Next up is the survivability screen. Choosing Fragile Threat on Gleaves reduces the hit points on the Benham, so by using Sims as an inspiration, we can reboost that HP and actually bring it above the Benson's. This is a pretty standard inspiration to use when choosing the Fragile Threat skill on the commander, especially at higher tiers where Sim's base trait becomes more effective. And although there's not much to see with regards to armor, we're going to save that comparison for the armor viewer. That means next up is the artillery screen. It's always hard to give out points on this screen. I could give out points for reload time, shell damage, or even alpha strike due to the Benson's extra gun. But ultimately, I think DPM is the most telling factor. This is Versus after all, and I like to think about how the two ships would fare against each other in a one-on-one battle. So we'll give it a point apiece for high explosive damage per minute and armor piercing damage per minute, since they can be different. Just take a look at my Curfers vs Yamato video for an example of that. The fire chance per minute is also almost double for the Benson when taking into account its extra gun and better reload time, so that nets at another point. Turret traverse gap isn't enough to make a difference, so we're going to move on to the torpedo screen next. Now, although the Benham's torps do a miserable 9,233 damage, you can check out 16 of them compared to the Benson's 10. The Benham also has a much quicker reload time, and those factors give it the edge in torpedo damage per minute. The range with these builds is almost even now, so we won't give out any points there, but the speed of the Benham's torps are a full 5 knots faster, giving it another point. Then next up is the anti-air defense screen. Add it all up and the Benson has better AA than the Benham. Specifically, it gets a point for the better AA DPM. Maneuvering on over to maneuverability. Taking all of our commander skill choices into effect, these two ships are almost dead even in all categories. The only slight difference being the rudder shift of 0.4 seconds for the Benson, but it's barely a bat of an eye, so that's not much of an advantage. And now the final statistical category screen, concealment. It's neck and neck in all categories, so we're just going to move right onto the armor screen. It's interesting to note that the Benham has stronger armor in many places by 5mm, but that difference is negligible, as all HE shells at the tier will penetrate 15 and 20mm of armor. When angled, a ship with 20mm armor will be overmatched by a 305mm shell or greater, I mean not even overpan if the shell goes the length of the ship. So it's arguable that having thicker armor will actually cause your ship to receive more damage from AP shells. Since it's all situational, we can't really give out points either way. I have to give a big thank you to the Galloping Major over at the Back to the Port channel for help with that information. If you haven't already, you're going to want to check out his channel for all kinds of up-to-date and advanced information on Legends. So here we are, the Benson officially takes it 5-3. In this comparison with our commander setups, the Benson has a better smoke screen, better high explosive DPM, better armor piercing DPM, a higher fire chance per minute, and a better AA suite. While the Benham has increased hit points, better torpedo DPM, better torpedo speed, and although not relevant to the gameplay, you might want to choose it because it is a premium and has increased credit earnings. You really do have to spec into the Benham's torps as much as possible to make it relevant. But if you can level your Albert Gleaves high enough, and he does have to be pretty high, the Benham can be competitive and a whole lot of fun. In the end, it just comes down to whether you want to use an American gunboat or an American torp boat. Well, there's our special verses in the books. If you did like that format, let me know in the comments down below, and remember to give the video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more of my videos, and as always, stay healthy and do what makes you happy.